Welcome to the Sports Circuit Podcast, episode 7. Um, I am I have matured past the favorite host joke. I am one of your hosts, Evan Levenberg.
And I am your other host, Miles. You have not matured past other jokes, but we'll leave it at that.
First of
All
all,
right.
what a past few weeks of sports we've had. What a week of sports we're gonna have this week.
I'm
It's
so nervous. Y'all have no idea how
it's
nervous I
Monday,
am.
December 16th. Miles, of course, an Ohio State fan, has a game to worry about on Saturday as they are.
Not only do I have that game at 8 o'clock on Saturday, at 4:30 on Saturday, I have a Steelers Ravens game. Whoever wins that game is gonna win the fucking division. So I have two games that I'm gonna be stressing out about on Saturday. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I am
Yeah,
so.
you better not talk to Miles on Saturday.
Oh no, you're talking about the. Don't call me, don't text me, don't DM me on Instagram with some stupid ass reel.
Oh, don't even. You do that all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I send stuff to Evan, who doesn't respond, by the way, because he's ungrateful.
Because
But
I'm in class.
I don't care if you're in class. I took time out of my day to send you a reel that I thought you would like, so you're gonna respond to it. Anyway,
Okay. College football. We got the
not
playoffs starting on
not much.
Friday night.
I mean, we've made our playoff picks. Both of us picked Oregon to win the national championship.
I picked Notre Dame to go to the finals.
Yeah, but we both picked Oregon
Oregon
to
to
win.
win, yeah. Which you can't go wrong with picking them. They've looked
Yeah,
like consistently the best team.
you can't blame them. Only undefeated team. It's like that. That makes sense.
I mean, there's not much in college football right now, except for the fact that Marshall had to drop out of their bowl game because a lot of their players transferred.
I truly think Kansas should have made that a bowl game, but
But
I
didn't they
think
decline it or something?
I don't know. I would trust you on that front, but
Jalen Daniels is coming back, baby.
there you go. You have that. DJ Uyunglele, the Florida State quarterback, is going to the NFL draft.
That man's had a pretty good
He'll,
year.
he'll be the
Said I,
he'll
sarcastically.
he'll be Aaron Rodgers' backup on the Jets.
There's not much in college football. We're in that time of the year.
We have Navy beat Army, blew out Army actually.
Yeah, I was expecting Army to win too.
I picked Army to win. Yeah. But I am more of a Navy guy, so I toured their campus when I was like 10. It's actually a really cool campus. Actually, I have a piece of like trivia on Army and Navy for you.
Okay.
So you know the rule that like anybody who goes to the Naval Academy or to the service academies has to serve in the military unless you're an athlete. You get an exemption. Unless you're an athlete who's gonna go pro, you get an exemption.
Okay.
Who was the last player to get that exemption from Navy?
I don't know.
Jeez, Rod, the only highest innovator to ever come out of the service academies.
Okay, well, I have not watched college sports for that long, Miles.
Roger Staubach, 1963.
Nor do I watch the NFL. I don't really watch NFL. Which will probably change in the near future.
Be a Steelers fan. Please, I need more people to talk to. All I have is Levi and my grandpa. That's all I have. So.
Miles, if anything, I will be a Falcons fan.
Don't do that to yourself.
Miles, I'm a part
Don't do
of
that to yourself.
I'm an Atlanta Hawks fan. And although they cause me the most pain out of all my sports teams combined, I am proud to be a Hawks fan, and you are too.
Yeah. But I'm also a Pirates and Penguins fan, so it sort of makes sense why I'm a Steelers fan. But, whatever.
It would not make sense if I was a Jayhawks, Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta Braves, and Pittsburgh Steelers fan. That wouldn't make sense.
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Anyway,
For what were we even talking about?
we were talking about just, we were sort of going over this. There's nothing much from the college front this weekend.
Wait, so Do we really have anything to talk about in that field?
Not much. Heisman. I do think Ashton Genty
Oh,
got robbed.
yes. You say it again, Miles.
Ashton Genty got robbed.
He won the fan vote, but he didn't win the
Yeah.
people. He like Travis Hunter. He's sixth in receiving yards, correct? And then he's tied for 17th for interceptions. First of all, how did he, in the first place, did he win Defensive Player of the Year?
Again, this is all social media awards. I mean, this is the guy plays for Deion Sanders, right?
Yeah.
Has Shadur Sanders as his quarterback. Like, there are two out of the last 10 years, so since 2014, there are two or three players. There are 3 years that I'll say Genty doesn't win the Heisman. This year, when Joe Burrow won in 2019, when he had 60 touchdowns and led LSU to that national championship, in 2014 when Marcus Mariota won. Those are the only 3 years that Genty doesn't win the Heisman. And really, he should have won this year.
He
So,
should have.
um,
Travis, I mean, Travis was great this year. Fun to watch, but
oh,
he's not Heisman for me.
yeah, I mean, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Um, unless Dion does that whole like veto thing he's thinking about. But he's no doubt a great player, but he should not have won the Heisman. I don't know if you heard the thing that like snaps isn't a stat. Like snaps has never been taken into consideration for any other player. Like the amount of snaps that you play per game has never been taken into consideration for any other player, mostly because they've been quarterbacks. But like
So why should it for him?
exactly, I feel like you've gone the criteria of you're the best player. You got to look at this raw stats. And where is Boise State if not for Genty? They're a 6-win team in the Idaho Potato Tony the Tiger Cheez Bowl.
Yeah, even
With,
with Travis Hunter, the Buffaloes didn't make the playoffs.
yeah, without them, they're probably about the same 9-win team.
Yeah, but I mean, these are both insane players, but I still think Genty should have won. He put up record numbers and didn't win.
Yes. I think the dumb argument that I heard from people who think Hunter should have won was that the teams Genty played weren't great. That argument is automatically go away because
He played Oregon.
he torched Oregon for like 175 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
He
and
torched
almost
Oregon.
beat Oregon.
Like, like I think they scored like 28 points in that game. He had 3 of those touchdowns,
I think the final score was 37-34, something like that.
and he scored 21 of those points by himself.
Exactly. This guy deserved Heisman.
Yeah,
I
like
understand he played in the like he was also willingly sitting out quarters and halves because they were already up by a lot. Imagine if he played the entire time.
yeah. If he played the fourth quarter against UNLV, a game or against like Buffalo, a game where he had already 3 touchdowns, and they were winning 52-3. He sat out the final 15 minutes of that game. He has at least another touchdown. Like that's just it's frustrating. It's
It's
frustrating.
very because we all knew. I mean, the people as all of social media has been saying, the people's Heisman is Ashton Genty.
Yes. Now I was talking to my grandfather about this the other day. He's like Dion's number 1 hater. Like I feel bad for Genty, and it's not like I hate Travis Hunter or anything. I don't, but
I love that guy.
he just didn't deserve the Heisman.
Which that's not a knock on
No,
him
no,
because
no.
the Heisman is a difficult award to win. Only one player gets it each year. To say that you're not that one player is not an insult.
Yeah, there are thousands of players. he's still the second best player in my opinion from this season.
Yes. Are we good on college football?
I think we're good on college football, so now we can
College basketball. And I want to start this off real quick. There is a game tomorrow that I want to put on upset watch. And I feel like people are going to laugh at me at this. North Carolina, Florida. That's an upset watch game. I know UNC is 6-4, but they've played some tough games, and I do think Florida's going to win, but I think it's going to be closer than most think, especially seeing a number next to Florida and nothing next to UNC. That's an upset watch game for
and
me.
Florida's one of the remaining like 4 or 5 undefeated teams in the country.
That could change tomorrow.
However, however, who have they beaten? Like that's of
Let me
significance.
look
They
at their
beat
schedule real quick. Your face looks so weird.
Arizona.
Let me tell you who they played.
They beat Arizona State. I know that.
Grambling. They did beat Florida State, Wake Forest, Virginia, and Arizona State, Florida State. Yeah, tomorrow's their first real test.
Yeah, it's just that's okay teams, but like
I mean,
they haven't
they
played.
say it's about a 50-50 shot.
Is the game in Gainesville or is it a neutral site game?
I think it's a neutral site game.
Okay.
RJ Davis is shooting 35% from the field. That's terrible.
I do like what Todd got going for Florida though.
I mean, that's a great program right there. At least for now,
Yeah,
undefeated.
I can see that team being a top 4 seed, tournament time.
100%.
Yeah, again, we're not going to talk about what happened between Ohio State and Auburn. We really don't have to go there. We lost by 40. Like there you go. Like, Kansas jumped to number what 8 in the AP poll.
Yeah, earlier today. I mean, we beat NC State. NC State stayed in that game longer than they were supposed to.
It was 75-60. That's what I thought. Because
No,
that was
but
going on.
you look in Kansas started off on what like a 19-3 or 19-5 run. That's how they started the game, and all of a sudden you look at halftime, you have still a single digit lead, and they stayed in that game for at least the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I would have watched, but then at the same time, the Hawks were playing Milwaukee, so I wasn't really clued in on.
Let's talk. Oh no, we'll talk about that later.
And we'll talk about that in a minute. But UConn beat Gonzaga. I watched the second half of that game. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I mean, of course, UConn, they lose those 3 games. They bounce back nicely, as we all knew they would. There was no doubt that UConn was going to
It was a
bounce back.
scare for a little bit though,
Yes, but they've rebounded nicely.
beating Baylor and the Zags.
Yeah, so good solid wins. They're now up to number 11 in the AP poll. And Gonzaga lost, so we can
celebrate.
we
We
can
can call them
celebrate.
overrated again and again, like we've done before.
Oh, UConn. That's all I got.
I mean, wait. Over the next few days, we don't have many big time matchups. Our next like big matchup is, if I'm looking at this, not for a while. Jeez.
Yeah, I think they
I mean,
did
we're on
that.
a very low key few weeks in college basketball.
I think they did that with knowing the college football playoff and this home stretch of the NFL season is really going to be taking over the sports world for the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
In sports media and stuff. So we had a great feast week over Thanksgiving. We've had a great first couple of weeks, but I think now, knowing the college football playoff starts in just a couple of days, the NFL season and the NFL playoffs start in about 2 or 3 weeks. So there's a lot more that's going to be covered and watched that's not college basketball.
And we're
So
gonna have some fun on the podcast.
yes, that's all I have for college basketball.
Let's go to what is gonna be a very long NBA slash Hawks
Wait, but before we start that, real quick, I'm gonna do my little Steelers thing. We lost yesterday, very sad. I'm not too upset about it though. I know I would normally be really mad about a game like that, but we were without so many people. The refs were terrible, all that. Philly's a great team. Whatever. We lost. On to the Raptors on Saturday. Now we can talk about the Hawks. The NBA Cup Finals are tomorrow.
We got Milwaukee and OKC. Give me
Yeah.
OKC in that game.
Oh yeah, please beat them. You and I talked about this the other day, the Hawks game, and I wanted to reiterate something I said because I think you misunderstood what I had said. When I said that the NBA Cup is a money grab, I didn't mean for the players. I meant the NBA Cup is a money grab for the NBA. They know ratings compared to Major League Baseball, compared to the NFL, have not been up to par. And so they threw out the NBA Cup last year. And it's been working, but do you think, but before we start talking about the Hawks, the NBA Cup has been working from a viewership standpoint the way the NBA wanted?
Um, I mean it clearly is a more intriguing matchup. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want to say more invested. I was already way invested into the NBA, but I became way more invested in the early regular season with the NBA Cup, and especially with the Hawks making their deep run this year. Um, I think it was a great idea, great thought, and it's working really well. But I think, hmm, I don't know how. I don't have an example, but I feel like it could be better in some parts. Like
Yeah,
stop.
I
Or no, I do have an example. Stop painting the courts an entire color. Like keep it. Like put something on there, but don't paint the entire court.
the, what are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about the
Oh,
courts.
the
They're blinding to look at. The players blend in with their jerseys.
oh yeah. We also saw that quote by Steve Kerr. It felt like I was walking into the depths of hell. Like that in reference to the Houston Rockets word. Um, and um, when they announced the NBA Cup, I was not a fan.
Why?
I hated the idea, and still, I'm not a huge fan of the idea. Did the Hawks? Was the Hawks run fun? Yes. Is this necessary? No. It's
Kind
not
of.
necessary.
It kind of is.
It's not necessary.
If you look at the NBA viewership over the past and how it's dropped, this is
Yeah,
kind of necessary if it's bringing their ratings at least a little bit up.
but my concern, I mean, the NBA ratings are down 28% from last year anyway, so I think they've, and I'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah, I have a question about that for you.
I think it's hurting. I what happens if Giannis blows out his knee in the finals and you play a couple of extra regular season games just so you could have another trophy, and guess what? Now one of your biggest stars is out for the year. Like I feel like that's a risk. Are you willing to take that? I don't know. But the other thing I wanted to touch on is I think it hurts the fact that this year the NBA Cup semi. Oh
That face.
dear
I'm
God, looks.
sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting, but that face.
Oh my God. Okay, there we go. Oh my. Oh, I think it doesn't help viewership when you have such like small markets in the semifinals. Like last year we had the Lakers in the Cup finals. Yeah, this year the semifinals were Milwaukee, Atlanta, Houston, and Oklahoma City. Those aren't your biggest markets. Those aren't your top teams. So I don't know if to an NBA fan
Well, then why not
watching
just have the
football.
best? Why not just have a NBA playoff of just the biggest teams? If that's your takeaway.
Well, my takeaway, that's not my takeaway, but that's my concern. My concern is the viewership because we had four teams that go coming from big markets and that aren't your big time Lakers, LeBron, Knicks, you know,
I know I
um,
understand what you're saying, but I disagree.
Dallas.
Like, if that's the concern that the big market teams aren't playing in the biggest moments, then why not just have a playoff of just the biggest teams instead of the best teams?
Don't give Adam Silver any ideas.
No, no, but like if you're gonna if you're gonna have concerns about the viewership being down with small market teams, then why have any small market teams at all?
That's a good point. That's a valid point. But I'm just saying what I've noticed. I'm just saying what I've noticed. So
No, but
let's
I
touch on let's touch on the game itself. Hawks Bucks.
um
Um,
it could we it was a I don't want to say close game. It was a close game, but we could have been better down the stretch in the last 5 minutes. Just
I
overall
think
not playing well.
I think what killed us was free throw shooting. I think we left a handful of points down the line.
Also, shot attempts in the last 5 minutes. I'm gonna talk about the last 5 minutes for a few minutes for a second.
Okay.
Um, we could have been so much better. Like the one shot that I don't want to say point fingers at, but that stands out is the Trae Young step back corner three when we desperately needed a shot. That's not what you want to take. I think Trey's showboating is awesome. I At times I really like it, but that's not when you want to do it. Do it in the third quarter. That's when you shoot your step back threes and your logo threes, but not when you desperately need a shot in the fourth quarter.
I
Oh,
mean, yeah,
although I
that's what
was
I was
on the
thinking.
opposing side, what a block by Giannis. That was incredible to see.
That's when I turned the game off. That's when I turned the game off. Um, I think all again, I don't think a logo three should ever go up in the fourth quarter, but a Trae Young logo three in the fourth quarter when it goes in is the most badass thing. I just love it.
Yeah, the thing is, it doesn't often go in the fourth quarter.
Yes, but when they do, it's really badass.
One thing I
Yeah, that was
notice is you go ahead.
that was a really frustrating loss. But that was an amazing run, and I don't want to overreact to the loss whatsoever. I still think we have a solid thing going. I still think we're a solid team. We have so much to build on. So on to San Antonio, like that. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I wanna what do you what is gonna be your takeaway if the Bucks win the Cup final over the Thunder? It's because like the Thunder last year were also pretty amazing, but they lost when it mattered most. What's your takeaway if the Thunder loses its next game?
First, I will determine Milwaukee has fully made a 180 from the start of the season.
For 100%. They started off terrible.
They were 2-8. They made that known on the broadcast multiple times during the Hawks game. So they started 2-8. So that means they've made the full 180 from the start of from the first 10 games to now here at Christmas time. And for Oklahoma City, I will grow concerned. Yes, they're great in the Western Conference, but if they were to get to a game seven against Dallas, against Denver, against Minnesota, will they be able to win? Are they going to be able to win that closeout game?
And they have the ability to
Is,
win any game.
yes.
Clearly, I mean,
Is Shea going to be able to have the superstar performance in a game seven or a cup final or a huge moment where they need to clinch a playoff spot or to where they need to win to get the two seed or whatever. Are their stars going to be able to step up, or are they just going to fold under the pressure of the bright lights and the media attention and the um you know and then finger pointing will eventually start, and then that's when things go south. So
Yeah, we're losing this game, although it might not seem like a huge deal. It could be, considering the mental aspect of the NBA and the media and stuff.
I mean, the media is just so quick to turn in any professional sport, but the NBA is no different.
And I wanted to,
Uh,
what were we gonna talk about next in the NBA? Because I do want to ask you a question that's kind of about the NBA. That's kind of on top of what we were
yeah,
talking about earlier.
we have nothing else to talk about, so
So my question for you, saw this on Instagram a few days ago, but why? Like, give me a few reasons of why NBA viewership is down, and what could they do to improve this?
I think the media has turned this from a league to enjoy basketball to a league where you just argue with people. There are so many arguments in the NBA nowadays. Who's the GOAT? Who's the best point guard in basketball? You know, should this coach be fired? Is this person going to be traded? There's so much that's talked about from the national media standpoint that the players are starting to hear and the fans are starting to get annoyed of that is negatively affecting the NBA. And back when I was watching when I was 11, 12 years old, it was just about basketball. If a player got traded, oh well, the player got traded. There was no debate on whether it was them or it was their coach or it was their star player back on their old team. There was never that debate.
Here's where it all started. When player empowerment became a thing. That's when they started making a huge deal about themselves and pairing up with other stars and players requesting trades. But when a
You
player,
okay?
yes,
You seem like you're like suffering over there. Are you like
no, I have a bad cough, but it doesn't matter.
oh Paul?
Let's picture this: a big NBA star just requests a trade out of nowhere, which has happened a few times now, and like really couldn't happen years and years ago. It's only started in the player empowerment era. But when a big time player requests a trade, all instead of the media talking about like what could this team do now, what could this team do now, it's all about why did they want to trade. Like you said, was it the coach? Was it a teammate? Was it the desire to win? But it's not about how the player's going to do now, how the team's going to do now, and how they're all going to perform. It's all about what was the mental aspect of all this and why did they want this. And when people start to point fingers at a coach, it's all fire this coach. And that's when it starts to get out of control.
A couple of those first. Like I remember, I was one of the pillars of the fire Nate McMillan trade during the 2022 season, which is a whole different thing. But that's such a big thing nowadays. How do you think big threes and super teams are affecting this? We've seen Katie and Harden and Kyrie in Brooklyn. They barely played together, and that was a whole mess. Now the Nets are in a rebuild. You saw Kawhi and PG and Harden out in LA with the Clippers. That hasn't worked out the way they wanted. They're always hurt. So, how do you think super teams have affected the NBA? And do you think the Warriors' old super team with Katie, Steph, Clay, and even Draymond and them having so much success, how do you think that sort of set up a whole generation of I don't want to go play with this player, I don't want to go play with this player, all that?
Super teams are weird. Like, I think um, how do I say this? During, like, I can't really blame the player empowerment era because although it has brought out more super teams and just the overall desire to have a super team, um, it started before the player empowerment era. Um, oh my God.
Dude, bro's like dying up there.
Wait, can you talk for a second? Give me a second.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the biggest super team that we've had in the last 10 years, and the KD, Steph, Clay, Draymond, Warriors dynasty that ended up winning championships and all that. And I think that just set a bar up here to like you have this super team now you have to go win multiple championships, you have multiple MVP caliber players, and if you don't, you're a disappointment. And then you had the whole mess in Brooklyn. They played like 7 games with each other, never
Yeah.
made it ground. You've had this whole mess in LA with the Clippers. Harden's already gone. Or yeah, Harden's gone, and or is he? No, Paul George is gone, and just everything. I do think super teams have messed up this, and big threes have messed up the NBA culture a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, going back
I
to
mean,
this, super teams did not originate recently. We've had super teams for a long time now. And, like, not that it was, like, a cheap strategy. I mean, it was a cheap strategy, but, like, it was different. LeBron joining the Heat, that was a cheap move, but it's different than KD joining three different super teams back to back because he's not winning. I mean, the difference with super teams back then and super teams now is that super teams back then were like consistently showing success. Super teams now aren't. And I think ever since the player empowerment era, we've been really quick to slap a team with the super team tag. Like, and this goes back a while too. Over the past few years, I've just been seeing random teams be called super teams. Like, in my opinion, the 2015 Cavs, the 2016 Cavs, those were not super teams, as people say. Like, that's a MVP level player, an all-star level player, and then and then an amazing role player is your number three. That's not a super team.
that's a super good team, but
But it's not a
that's
super
not a
team.
super
Like,
team. Yeah.
and ever since then, so many teams have been just had the super team tag slapped on them.
Yeah, I mean, I just um like the one super team of this sort of last couple of years that I don't understand why we're calling them a super team. The Phoenix Suns with Katie Booker and Bradley Beal. That's not a super team.
Yeah, it's
They have
not.
no depth. That's not a super team. That's just a team with two superstars and a washed up injury prone
Yeah,
Bradley
like
Beal.
a team
Like
with two superstars is not a that's not a
yeah,
super team. Like the KD
that
Warriors, that was a super team because they had a bunch of great players and a bunch of great depth too.
yes. Depth is so important in the NBA nowadays.
Like having two superstars is no like going back to my 2015 Cavs example, if that's a super team, then the 2017, 2018 Raptors were also a super team, and no one ever calls them a super team.
Okay, so using that example, this this ain't gonna come out of nowhere. Would the 2015 Hawks be considered a super team? We get four All Stars.
No, because you could argue that those guys, not all those guys, deserve to be all stars.
Exactly. So like we're this super team tag has gotten overused and overpowered. We have to stop using it as a just hey, the team has some good players. They're a super team now.
But going back to the original question, I do have some comments on my own question of why is NBA viewership down? There's a few reasons for me. Um, First of all, I love how the NBA is trying to crack down on this, but it's not working. Load management, especially over the past couple years, sitting at your stars because you don't want them to get injured is not acceptable. You got to play them all the time. And small fines are not going to work. You need to start like I don't even know what the NBA can do. This is a problem for me too. I don't know what to do. But
I mean, yeah, like
what can you do
sitting
about
your
it?
stars when it's a blowout and you're winning or losing by 20 is one thing because the game is out of reach.
But sitting them out of games at a time is not fine.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like
mean, like the Hawks and Trae Young got punished because we sat Trey in the Boston game because we lied about his injury. Like,
and although I love the Hawks, that's a bad move for you.
yeah, I mean, of course we ended up winning, but still,
Yeah,
Hawks ball.
a few other reasons for me. Like, let me talk about. I'm not. This is not completely one person's fault or one group's fault, but like overall, I love a physical basketball game, but it's impossible to have a physical game now without 60 free throws being shot.
Yeah,
Like I want to see a guy drive to the layup and throw down a dunk on someone without there being a foul. And also, can we like can we take it down on the charges a little bit? Like, you're not going to see an amazing dunk now if a guy's just going to stand there and wait for there to be a foul called.
yeah. Like that's just
My God.
bro is
I'm not okay,
dying.
Miles.
We know.
I
Like
am
Matt, like
working my way. I'm fighting my way through this episode, but we're gonna like.
yeah. So
You,
yeah.
I want there to be less fouls, and like another thing is some games there's it's a long 3 point contest. Too many threes just getting chucked up. The Celtics are more than statistically more than half the Celtics field goal attempts this year have been threes.
That's concerning.
It is. I mean, and I know the Celtics are winning basketball, but it's really not fun to watch a team chuck up 50 or 60 threes a game. I liked it when it was like 30, 40, maybe 45 at max on a good night. Like the Mavs and Warriors just last night combined for 48 threes. That's
How
not
about
good
the
TV and it's not
how
good
about
basketball.
Hornets game from a couple days ago? I don't remember who they played. But the teams combined for 75 missed threes.
Yeah, that's not good TV. That's why
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they um the people fans a few years ago would be more than happy to tune into some random game where a few stars are playing and watch it, or even a low key game. But like, I don't see many fans just tuning into random games anymore. Why? Because it's not good TV.
Yeah. Like that's yeah.
Damn, what a rant about NBA viewership.
Load management needs to stop. Refs need to tighten up a little or untighten up a little bit. Well, now, well, fouls need to be stopped.
And you say
You
I'm the
know,
immature one.
you literally call me fat every single day.
I'm not gonna deny
Uh,
that.
threes need to be stopped. Like we need to stop tucking up threes.
I mean, here's the thing with that: you can't really stop players from shooting threes.
But like we need to have a balance of
A more balanced
throwing up
system.
threes.
Like I'm not
Yeah.
saying this is the best solution, but back up the 3 point line a little bit and see what happens.
Yeah. Evan is not okay.
I'm not. Why would I do this episode today? Why wouldn't we just wait until Friday where there will be an in-person episode? Spoilers.
Our second in-person episode in the history of the podcast.
I think the first one we couldn't upload.
Yeah, but
But okay, but this one will be the best one we've ever recorded. And over the summer we're gonna have many of those.
yes. Yeah.
We gotta talk about the Hawks now. Just apart from that Milwaukee game, we gotta talk about the team. Um, this was asked in our in-person episode, which was never uploaded. Miles asked me this question, and I have an answer. I want to hear his answer again. What do you want to see happen by the trade deadline? Now that we have a better perspective of what's going to happen.
It's a good question. A real
Yeah, I
good question.
got it from you. Answer the question, buddy. You can do it.
I'm
Use your
thinking.
words.
I'm watching the Falcons game while listening.
Well,
And or thinking. You know what? I don't think I want to see anything major happen at the trade deadline.
the only move that I would really be fine with is trading Capella for a better center. I don't think we're going to do it because his contract expires this year.
I heard that guy out in Denver's pretty good. The Serbian, the overweight horse enthusiast.
Yeah, who cooked us a few nights ago.
Yeah. If you
But,
can't beat
but
our
let's talk about this Jimmy Butler stuff. What's going on with him?
yes,
Miles, you want to give a bit of a summary of what's been going on the last week?
Jimmy Butler wants to, or there are rumors of Jimmy Butler of being open to being traded.
No, he said, "quote he's open to a trade."
That's it. That's what I said.
No, you said
But
rumors of him wanting a trade.
and then there were some teams, including the Phoenix Suns, who came out and said that they were part of the trade, and all of a sudden now, um, Phoenix is not part of the trade, and Shams is under a lot of heat, and it's a whole thing.
Woj was better. Yeah, this is a short episode. We don't got much to talk about considering college sports and its low keyness right now.
Yeah, next Friday is gonna be a big episode.
In person, I don't know what we'll talk about then.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it
But
out.
another spoiler alert: we're gonna get a Christmas special out next week at some point next week. And that's gonna be an all fun episode. Goat debate, hot takes, etc. It's gonna be fun. Well, then we will do, and that'll probably just be our weekly episode too. But we might do stuff separately as we did before.
I have a request for you, but I'll ask you off air.
Okay. Is that it for today?
That's it for today. I'm your host, Miles.
And I'm your other host, Evan. And we will see you on Friday. We have a weird schedule. All right.
We really do.
I
We
know.
need to get this figured out.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.